That's sad. It's me. You're going to sit there?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Vais acabando, por favor. Arratsaldeon, muy buenas tardes. Es un placer para el Festival de San Sebastián presentar esta rueda de prensa que concederá el actor británico Hugh Grant para presentar la película Florence Foster Jenkins, dirigida por Stephen Frears, y que, como saben, se proyecta dentro del ciclo Perlas de esta 64ª edición. El señor Grant está dispuesto a contestar, por supuesto, a todas las preguntas que quieran plantear sobre la película o sobre su carrera como actor. Empezamos ya.
Hola, buenas tardes, señor Grant. Quería preguntarle dos cosas. Ayer Ethan Hawke, recogiendo el Donostia, decía que el cine es su religión. Gael García Bernal, que recogió otro premio, dijo que para él era un acto de fe. ¿Nos puede sacar usted un poco de este misticismo? ¿Qué es el cine para usted a estas alturas de su carrera?
Who asked this question?
She's over there.
Oh, hello. It was difficult. It was a man's voice speaking in my ear. So, yeah. Well, what are films for me? I don't know. They're not really a religious thing for me. I can't say that. But I try my best to make them entertaining and not too stupid. And that's it, really. I think they're an entertainment.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant.
Hello.
Congratulations for your work. The movie pays a lot of attention to facial expressions. And tell us the truth. How many times did Meryl, Simon and you stop to laugh while filming? Thanks.
Well, quite a lot. I personally have always had a problem laughing when I'm acting. It's why I had to stop doing plays in the theatre, because if I said something funny and the audience laughed, I laughed as well. I was so happy. So it's always been a big problem for us, or for me, and that was certainly the case on this film.
Hi, Mr. Hugh. Rodrigo Fonseca from Brazil. This is I think, Oscar-winning performance you have in this film. It's a really good work, and I would like you to tell us a few words about your process of working with Mr. Stephen Frears. Thank you.
Well, you're very kind to be nice. Stephen Frears, I knew Stephen socially a bit and through my new world of politics in London, but I didn't know him as a director until this film. And he was very surprising because he doesn't really speak. He's rather like Woody Allen in that regard. And who else didn't speak? There was another director I worked with who was completely silent. I've forgotten. Anyway, Frears, yeah, I went to my first meeting with him about the film. I had 20 intelligent questions about the script. And every question I asked him, he just said, I don't know, no idea. And I thought maybe this was just an act. But now I realize that that is his method. He just lets things happen. Yeah.
Hi, Robert Kurvits from Estonia. I just came from outside, and there was actually tens of young females, and they saw that I have a card hanging on my neck, and they were asking me, when does Hugh Grant shows up? How does it feel after all these years to be such a great actor and still a sex symbol? Thank you.
I don't think I'm a sex symbol to those young girls. I think I'm a curiosity. That's all.
Señor Grant,
Yeah.
¿qué tal?
Hello.
Gonzalo Hurtado de Perú. Una curiosidad, los personajes que interpretan esa película, tanto Meryl Streep como usted, son personajes que existieron realmente y que están contados en un tono de comedia muy bueno que encontró el señor Stephen Frears. Sin embargo, ¿qué tanto se parece la interpretación que usted nos brindó al personaje real de St. Clair?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. I did do a lot of research on this film, more than I normally do on any other film, partly because I was so frightened of Meryl Streep and Stephen Frears. I thought that research would help my nerves. So I did learn a lot about the real characters and especially about the real Sinclair Bayfield. But then it's a difficult choice whether you're going to play the real man or whether you're going to play a fictional version of him. And in the end, I kind of split the difference. There were some very important things from the real man that I did learn and which really helped me. I went to New York and I read his diaries and his letters, which have been preserved. And the thing that struck me most was that throughout his life, and even after Florence died, he was still really just a bad actor, an out-of-work actor, writing letters to people to try and get even a small part in a play. And that was really key for me in the performance, because I wanted people to know that under this very smooth, well-dressed, well-groomed exterior, there was a rather tragic out-of-work actor underneath.
Hi. Congratulations on the film. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And I would like to know, do you agree with your character's decision of keeping the truth from his wife in order to protect her? Will you do the same in real life?
Well, I do agree with Bayfield's decision. Although, interestingly, right in the very last moment of the film, when she says, everyone was laughing at me, weren't they? Bayfield doesn't deny it. And I think that's very important. It's a sort of little moment of truth. He just says, I wasn't laughing at you. But he doesn't deny the fact that other people were. And I always thought that was quite a loving moment. Me personally, I'm not a believer in the truth. I think it's very important to lie all the time, especially when it comes to performances. If people come to see me in a film and they say to me afterwards, do you mind if I'm honest? The answer is yes, I do mind. I really mind. Yeah.
Hola, Mr. Grant. Yo quería preguntarle por su idea, que es una idea que se repite en la película, sobre la falsedad, lo fake. Si vivimos en un momento en el cual pues, hay muchas cosas que no parecen auténticas, no parecen reales, y bueno, en la película se habla mucho de la autenticidad y quería saber su opinión al respecto. Y también, una segunda pregunta, ¿qué le parece o qué le ha parecido lo que ha sucedido en su país, en el Reino Unido, con respecto al Brexit? Muchas gracias.
I think the whole subject of things being authentic is quite interesting. There's a very good book you might know by Lionel Trilling called Sincerity and Authenticity. And it talks about how sincerity, it can be rather overrated. It can be something that some cultures cling to as the most important virtue. But it can become kind of fake and boring in the end. And I think it's perfectly possible to be a complete fake and a liar and still be authentic. And I think human beings are very good at sniffing out what's authentic. And it's always attractive to human beings. Whereas a kind of determined sincerity can be a bit repellent.
Do you want to talk about Brexit or no?
Oh, no, that's too exhausting. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hi again. I think from 4 weddings and a funeral till nowadays, you are the most important romantic hero we know in cinemas for the past 22 years. I would like to understand a little bit more from you. What's the importance of being a romantic hero in nowadays cinema?
I don't think there's any importance. I'm sorry. I just ended up doing that job in a few films by mistake rather than by design. I was just sitting around waiting for good scripts, and it so happened that the good scripts that came to me were romantic comedies, and that's what I ended up playing. And it's not that easy, I tell you. It's more fun and in many ways easier to play character roles, bad guys. To play the nice romantic hero, it's very difficult to avoid being boring and obnoxious. And I'm not sure I always succeeded.
Buenas tardes.
Hello.
Hace 6 meses he visto otra versión de la película del personaje de Clarence, quizá más oscura, esta de ustedes más popular, pero ¿qué ocurre? Que ya no hay guionistas en el cine que tengan que buscar historias y se repiten en el mismo año. Y segundo, me gustaría saber su opinión, si se siente defraudado, ahora la estrenan, no estar en la tercera parte de Bridget Jones.
Well, the first question, we didn't know there was another version, the French version of the film being made. I only found out about that after we finished the film. And I haven't seen it yet, but I hear it's excellent. But it is strange how often in my life, if you make a film about a certain subject, you can guarantee someone else is making a similar film at the same time. I don't know why that happens. It's like buses, you know, you wait for one for ages and then 2 come along at once. And Bridget Jones, yeah, well, they did ask me to be in Bridget Jones 3 many times. And I worked with them on the script, which was very promising. But I could never make my character really work in that particular story. And so in the end, I said, look, I think it's better that you do it with someone else.
Siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Hi. Here. I'm here.
Hello.
Hola, quería preguntar, una vez que uno ha interpretado a un actor malo en el paro, ¿se ha preguntado alguna vez qué habría hecho usted si se queda en el paro? No por ser malo, pero no tiene trabajo. Imagínese que en su país hay un 70% de actores en el paro. ¿Se enrollaría con una señora mayor y rica para salvar o seguiría un poco su instinto y moriría tratando de hacer Hamlet? Gracias.
The elderly rich lady, definitely, yes. Yeah.
Siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Hi. Hola, yo le quería preguntar por un lado si... Estoy por aquí, hola. Le quería preguntar, ha trabajado con Meryl Streep, que tiene ya el premio de Donostia, si algún día le haría ilusión o le gustaría poder recibir él ese premio. Y luego le quería pedir un favor, y es que esta noche voy a estar en la alfombra roja en directo cuando él pase y le puedo pedir el favor de que por favor se pare con nosotros para saludarnos y decirnos hola. Muchas gracias.
I would definitely stop and say hello to you. I have to see what you look like first, hang on. These are prescription. Okay, gotcha. Right. Yes. I came to this festival before, you know, in the 1980s. But I must have been very drunk because I remember nothing. Except that it was a lovely film called Romando al Viento. And I think that the director, Gonzalo Suarez, I think he won a seashell, but I can't remember what color it was.
¿Alguna pregunta más?
¿Puede ampliar un poco cómo se trabaja con la más grande, con Meryl Streep, y si su sentido del humor es parecido al suyo, ¿no? Me parece que Meryl Streep también tiene mucho sentido del humor, ¿no?
Well, yes, and she's incredibly intelligent, and Well, and a genius. You have to remember, you know, she's a genius. And what was it like working with her? Largely, it was intimidating because she's just so good to turn up to work in the morning and have to do emotional scenes with a woman who's had 19 Oscar nominations is extremely frightening for a man who comes largely from fluffy romantic comedies. So I had to really try my hardest in this. And I did all kinds of things I'd never done before, like research, as I was explaining earlier, and I even really made efforts to do what American actors do and become sort of emotionally, really get in the mood. I spent a lot of time with headphones on, listening to relevant music and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, next one.
The British film, industry is very up top right now. Well, it's always been, but mostly now. And you are kind of the biggest romantic star in the world. So I was just wondering, what do you see film industry going in your point of view as an actor and as a romantic actor? And what's your what would you say your next role would you like to be for this?
Well, I never know the answer to that question because I just wait and see what shows up. I am going to do a part in a children's film next. I don't know if you saw Paddington, but they're making another Paddington, and I'm in that. And I thought that was a nice thing to do because I have hundreds of children now, and I need to keep them entertained. So, as for what's happening with film, I don't really know. It's not exactly the same industry as when I was doing Romando al Viento. It seems to me that cinema has become a little more like television, and television's become more like film. Screens have got smaller in the cinema. Screens have got bigger on your TV. And some of the things that I loved about the cinema, scale, glamour, perhaps are not quite the same as they were 20 or 30 years ago. And a lot of people say to me, well, come on, Hugh, all the best writing now is in TV, so let's do some TV. But I can't bring myself to it. I still cling to the idea of glamorous cinema.
Siguiente pregunta.
Okay. You've been working with some of the greatest directors in the world, Stephen Frears, Woody Allen, Roman Polanski. I would like to understand, what have you been learning from cinema and from life from them?
Well, I think Woody Allen, I didn't learn this when I worked with him, but I think it's one of his phrases when he says that 98% of success is showing up. And I think that's a really good lesson. I'll teach that to my children. You've just got to do it, instead of talking about it. And there's a man who, for however many years it is now, 50 years, has made one film a year. And so I think I learned that from him. It's just show up, just do it. And with Polanski, for instance, I learned, he was the first director I worked with where I really realized the power of cinema as a greater thing or as a different thing from television. The way, if you read his autobiography, and he talks about going to film school in Lodz, I think it's called, and where they're not even allowed, or they were not allowed when he was there, to even use 16mm film. They always had to work in 35 and think in terms of scale. And that's when watching him is when I first realized the true difference between cinema and television. And as I said to the lady over there, I'm rather addicted to that difference. It's got a kind of special magic and romance that even the very best TV, and now there's brilliant TV, can never match.
Viendo sus películas, podría parecer que hay una filosofía de vida, hay una forma de ver el mundo por parte de Hugh Grant que se parece transmitir en la forma el sentido del humor, un cierto distanciamiento. ¿Es real esto? Es decir, ¿hay parte de la filosofía Hugh Grant que se queda en sus papeles o es solo una percepción por parte del espectador?
I'm not sure I entirely understand your question, but I don't think what you see is particularly me, or even particularly the films I do. I think what you were just seeing is a British attitude to life. You know, every culture prioritizes different things. The French prioritize food and sex, and the British have that as their lowest priorities. But we do prioritize jokes, and I think that's just, I don't know how that happened, but that's the way it is.
Siguiente pregunta, por favor.
Hi again. How was working with Simon?
Well, he was brilliant, of course, and I didn't really, when he joined the cast, I thought, oh, here's this young man who's never made a film before, and I was a little bit patronizing to him. And then I realized he's the biggest TV star in America and probably the richest man I've ever met, because that show is gigantic. I don't know if you get it here in Spain, but what's it called? Big Bang Theory. It's just vast. And yeah, I was really dealing with an expert, and he is an expert. He's a comic genius, I think. Yeah.
Again, do you have plans to direct someday? And second question, I think Notting Hill is everybody's favorite romantic comedy, at least one of the favorites. Could you say a few words about this film? Because I came from Brazil, and in Brazil, every day this movie is shown on TV.
Every day?
Yeah.
Where's my money? Yeah. Oh, that's very nice. That's nice that it's shown. What can I tell you about Notting Hill? I don't really know, except I think I knew when I heard the premise for that film. Unknown, nobody bookseller falls in love with the most famous woman in the world. I thought immediately that's commercial. You know, that's a great idea. And you don't always have that with a film. There's not always the one line where you go, yes, that'll work. And then when I heard, that was the first thing. And then when I heard Charles Aznavour singing She, and they put that over just a little bit of the cut footage while we were shooting, I was certain then that we were going to have a big hit. It was just too romantic. And that's my thoughts on Notting Hill. I can't remember your first question, I'm so sorry. Oh, directing. Well, I've been saying that for 30 years, and I've never got round to it. And time's running out, getting old. But you never know.
Tenemos tiempo para un par de preguntas más.
Creo que no le hemos preguntado si le gusta la ópera.
I like the greatest hits, those little the compilations of the best arias. I can't really deal with the bits in between when they're just doing recitative. I've been to one opera. I took my elderly father and his retired secretary who needed a treat to see Don Giovanni, and we all hated it.
Hello. They mentioned before the Notting Hill, and I remember in one of the opening scenes there's this junket which everything goes wrong. So I would like to ask you if in any of those junkets you had a similar experience in the past. Thank you.
I wish, because it would cheer up junkets. Really, the big challenge in a press junket is to stay awake, because you've answered the same question for 4 days in a row. No big disasters, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Muchísimas gracias a todos.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.